Joining us now, we have former Israeli ambassador to the U.S., Michael Oren. Ambassador, we just got a security alert coming out of the U.S. Embassy in Jordan saying the U.S. Embassy has indications there may be missiles, drones, or rockets flying over Jordanian airspace. Is urging American citizens to exercise caution due to high tensions in the region. But I want to ask you about those high tensions in the region. We saw the U.S. State Department quietly move a lot of people out of those the consulate in Erbil in Iraq and Baghdad because they knew this was coming and feared the risk to American personnel and forces. If you were a diplomat in this region, would you be concerned and would you think about evacuating your embassy, or would you wait?
I would certainly evacuate my family, Christina, not the embassy. Keep in mind, I don't think Iran is targeting Jordan. I don't think Iran is going to think many times before targeting Iraq, certainly Saudi Arabia or other Gulf countries, because President Trump has made it abundantly clear that should Iran target any of America's Arab allies in the region, the United States will respond very robustly. And what was happening in Jordan was there are rockets passing over Jordan from Iran en route to Israel. And Jordan is saying it's intercepted some of those rockets, not in defense of Israel, but in defense of its own airspace, which is fine by us. Israel will continue to defend itself. We have the world's most advanced multi-layered air defense system. You know the Iron Dome system. That's for a rather low-flying local rocket. But we also have David Sling, which is a medium-range rocket that can take down a cruise missile. I think those are the interceptions you showed recently on your broadcast. And we also have a suborbital and orbital rockets developed with the United States called Arrow 2 and Arrow 3, because some of these rockets we run actually go into outer space before coming down and trying to hit Israel. And no system, no anti-ballistic system is perfect, no matter how multifaceted and advanced. These systems are about 90 to 95% effective, and which is why you saw 100 rockets being fired by Iran at Israel, and apparently 5 to 7 got through, which would be keeping with the usual percentage.
The last time Iran and Israel had this kind of exchange of fire, it was tit for tat, and then it kind of settled down. Interlocutors from the U.S. and regional allies were able to kind of put a lid on it because each side felt like they had done enough for the optics of their own domestic populations to look like they had pushed back. I'm wondering if you think this will be a sufficient response from Iran, or given how important the nuclear facility is to the national identity, to the Khamenei regime, if you think they will have to do more than this and Israel should be expecting more retaliation from Tehran.
I think we're entering into a very complex geostrategic situation. Think of it multi-tiered chess. The Trump administration has told the Iranians that unless they come back to the negotiating table and are willing to make significant concessions in those negotiations, then the United States will basically let Israel continue to hit Iran in a quote-unquote brutal way. Israel will continue its battle and can do basically a rolling thunder type of strikes at Iran. And Iran then will retaliate. Now, the first retaliation tonight of 100 rockets fell short of the 300 rockets that were fired twice in October and April of 2024. But Iran can engage Israel in a prolonged battle of attrition, keeping our airport closed, keeping us indoors. My family's now in a bomb shelter. We had bombs falling not so far from here not too long ago, and sirens going off. And that's a war of attrition. At the end of the day, I think there's an understanding among Israeli policymakers that this round, this fighting will not end in the battlefield, but will end around a negotiating table. And Iran is now maneuvering by firing at Israel to try to improve its position in a negotiating table, in renewed negotiations with the United States. And Israel will try to strengthen America's position. For example, the United States has said that it wants to see the dismantling of Iranian nuclear facilities, not just capping their enrichment potential. Well, hopefully, at the end of this round of fighting, that Iran will be negotiating for the dismantlement of facilities that are already dismantled by the Israeli military. But I'm confident. I don't know what the price is. I don't know how long this is going to take. I'm pretty confident it's not going to end tonight, but it will end somewhere along the line around a negotiating table.
Ambassador, I want to follow up with something you mentioned, because you were talking about the circumstances under which you said, quote, the U.S. will continue to allow Israel to hit Iran. I'm wondering if you think the U.S. still has control over what Israel does in the region, because all the information we have is that the Trump administration didn't want this to go forward right now. They wanted everybody at the table at Amman on Sunday. This is counter to what the Trump White House really wanted in the region. Do you think Trump has the power to hold Netanyahu back or have any influence on what he does?
Well, it's an important point. I want to make very clear. I didn't say that the United States can control Israel, but Trump said the United States can control Israel. In fact, Israel acts in accordance to its own interests, and the interests here were existential. Israeli leaders believed that Iran was on the verge of creating a nuclear weapon that would have endangered Israel's future existence. And I think a great number of Israelis would agree with that. And in the past, going back to 1981, when Menachem Begin defied Ronald Reagan by attacking the Baghdad, the Iraqi nuclear reactor, and then in 2007, when Ehud Olmert, the Israeli prime minister, defied George Bush in attacking the Syrian nuclear reactor. There have been several precedents that show that when Israel has to act in its defense, it will act independently of the United States or even in defiance of the United States. But at the end of the day, the United States remains Israel's ultimate ally. And as this war of attrition will grind on, Israel will need resupply of munitions, perhaps of jet fuel. And so to a large extent, Israel will try to remain on the same page with the United States. The big question tonight is the degree to which the United States will act to help defend Israel's skies. Now, in those previous two incidents of firing in 2024, and as Courtney mentioned, the United States was very active in taking down rockets. The U.S. Air Force was taking down drones, but also some missiles. And the United States has three major systems in this area: the Aegis system, the Patriot system, and the THAAD system, which joins our multi-level anti-ballistic systems, and they can be very effective. Again, no system is impenetrable. Is foolproof, and rockets will get through. But as Israel continues to pound Iranian positions, including Iranian arsenals and missile launchers, Iran's ability to strike Israel, I think, will be impaired.
Yeah, it reminds me of that old IRA saying, "You have to be lucky every time. I only have to be lucky once." We do have a new statement from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. He says he's addressing the Iranian people directly. I'm going to read a little bit of it to you. He says the Islamic regime, which has oppressed you for almost 50 years, threatens to destroy our country, the state of Israel. The objective of Israel's operation is to thwart the Islamic regime's nuclear and ballistic missile threat to us. As we achieve our objective, we are also clearing a path for you to achieve your freedom. And he goes on to say, as I said yesterday and many times before, Israel's fight is not against the Iranian people. It seems to be a call for the Iranian people to stand up. And at the end of it, he says, the time has come for standing up for your freedom from the evil and oppressive regime. Do you think this is likely to get any traction inside Iran? I mean, often when countries are hit, even if they have internal political tensions, it tends to force people together towards solidarity, towards nationalism, not necessarily towards regime change. But what's your take here?
Well, this is not the first time the prime minister has made statements like this. It's going back several years. He said to the Iranian people months and months ago that your freedom is coming. Hold on. And Israel is aware, as I think the Iranian regime is aware, that it has a tremendous amount of internal opposition. There have been large-scale demonstrations against the regime, most recently by Iranian women, that was brutally suppressed. And it's not a popular government at all. It's an extremely unpopular government. So this figures into that geostrategic situation that I was talking about earlier. The Iranians may want to continue to fight, but the longer they continue to fight, the longer Israel continues to battle Iran, then domestic opposition to the regime could mount. And there has been a debate, and I've been part of that debate, whether a military strike against Iran would, as you mentioned, cause Iranian people to rally around the regime rather than take advantage of the regime's weakness. And I must say that in that debate, a second school that says no, the Iranian people are so fed up with this regime that if they perceive that the regime has been weakened, that it's not just a paper tiger, it's a tissue tiger, then you could see large-scale opposition in the streets. And I think the Iranian regime is going to take that into account in its calculus of how long this can go on before they will signal to the United States, uncle, we are willing to go back to the negotiating table. Just tell the Israelis to hold off.
All right, Ambassador Michael Oren, thank you so much for joining us. Please stay safe with your family. We appreciate it.
Thank you.